to say that, please someone tell me how to pronounce the name. So if you are new to these videos, basically these are going to be book suggestions, not specifically reviews. I say this every time, but for the new people, I read a lot of these books I haven't read in well over a decade. So I don't remember what happened because I haven't reread them. This I do because my bookmark's here, and I'm reading it currently, so I'm going to be able to talk a bit more about this. I'll read the blurb, I'll give the Goodreads rating, and we'll go from there. The older stuff, I'll read the blurb and all of that, but I just won't have as much to say about it. But at least this is giving you book suggestions. You're going to get eyes on books that I've read that I thought were good, and then you can go from there, looking them up, reading reviews yourself, and then there will be some book triggers as well. So, The Witcher. It's a book series, it is a video game, and it is a TV series, amongst maybe other things. I played The Witcher 3 a little bit, but I just stopped. I don't know why. I think I just wasn't in the mood for an RPG at the time. I kind of want to go back to it. But it seemed okay. The TV show, I watched season 1. I liked it. I don't know if I was fully sold on it. And now we have the book, which I am actually really enjoying. I'm near the end. It is 4.10 on Goodreads, and it just reads nicely. There's only been one fight scene so far, and I am probably 3/4 of the way through. I do like more battles or conflicts in a book. I would say this is more just character building, world building, trying to build the picture of what's gone on previously in the world and what's happening and occurring right now amongst good versus evil. It's not written as well as some books in terms of its language used. I'm not sure if this was originally written in English or is transcribed, but I would say it's just the grammar and the words used are just not as good as some authors, and yet it's flowing, it's going forward nicely, it's got enough going on that I'm enjoying it. Good descriptive stuff, some characters I like. It's not an instant, this is going to be the best series ever, but it is hey, I'm reading this quickly, I only started this week, nearly done, it's flowing nicely, so that's what it has going for it. I would say if you just want some nice escapism reading, this is a good one. Geralt, The Witcher, is written well. He's pretty interesting. I wouldn't say I am gripped by him yet. I don't even know if he's my favourite character almost. Like, he's good. But yeah. And then there's the cow Siri, who I'm quite liking. She's like the chosen one. I haven't learned much about her yet. Then there's other characters. But let's read the back. For over a century, humans, dwarves, gnomes, and elves have lived together in relative peace. But that time has come to an end. Geralt of Rivia, the hunter known as the Witcher, has been waiting for the birth of a prophesied child, the one who has the power to change the world for good or for evil. As the threat of war hangs over the land and the child is pursued for her extraordinary powers, it will become Geralt's responsibility to protect the weak, and the Witcher never accepts defeat. Blood of Elves is the first novel in the Witcher saga, the globally best-selling series by Andrzej Sapkowski, winner of the World Fantasy Award for Life Achievement. Here we go, translated etc. It's 300 odd pages, so in terms of big fantasy series, and this has a lot of books, it's not monster books like we have here. The problem about that is it gets expensive if you buy your books, because you will run out of them quickly. I don't know if I'm going to read everything in the series. I would say there's at least 8 books, but I will certainly get the next one and see just how good it is. Sometimes I read a page from the book, but time is ticking on, so I'll do that for the next one. I just noticed a bit of dirt on my nail. Cool. I'm gonna do this one next. This is a bigger book. This is Blood Song by Anthony Ryan. Now, Anthony Ryan I've spoken about before. I talked about the Pariah and the Hunger of the Gods. Where are you, Hunger of the Gods? Pariah behind me, which I think is book 1, yes, of the Covenant of Steel series. Really, 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 really good series. And the Shadow of the Gods, I got it wrong. I think the Hunger of the Gods is number 2. If you can kind of see, there's a book. Back there, back there, back there, back there, back there. That's good. That's great. That's amazing. Now, Blood Song is actually Anthony Ryan's debut. I read it. It's a trilogy. I loved it. Funnily enough, I thought it got good. I got bad reviews. Or average reviews. I thought it was maybe 3.8 on Goodreads. So I was very surprised when I looked up the Goodreads rating for this video, and it is 4.42. 4.42. As I always say, anything above a 4 is great to me. Wow, my voice. 4.42, amazing. So Blood Song. I'm going to read the back. I'm going to read an excerpt of Mark Lawrence's review, who is a great author. He wrote, I've only got his one trilogy. It's like Prince of Fools, maybe. I can picture someone sitting on a throne for the first or third book. Anyway, we'll discuss that in a minute. The back of this book. The Order fights, but often it fights in shadow without glory or reward. We have no banners. Valen Alsorna is the 6th Order's newest recruit. Under their brutal training regime, he learns how to this start bit, I won't lie. Some small but undeniable part of me came to this book hoping to find fault. It would take a better man than me to watch Anthony Ryan's barnstorming success without a twinge of envy. Sadly, I have to report that this is a very good book and deserves the 5 stars I've given it. For another author to give 5 stars, that's really good. Ryan writes well. He brings his world and characters to life with good description. It's a storyteller. It's as a storyteller he shines though, and a good story is always the keystone of a bestseller. Now I like this first bit. I forgot that's how it worked, and if you're like me, you'll agree. Schools in fantasy books are like crack cocaine to readers. The Wizard of Earthsea, which I believe is actually a Wizard of Earthsea. Anyway, Magician, which would be we've reviewed it before, by Raymond E. Feist. Harry Potter, J.K. Rowling, of course. The Magicians, which is now a TV show. I don't know who wrote the book, but the TV show's not too bad. Name of the Wind, he says, I think. Yeah, that's got some schooling in it. It goes on. And if not a school per se, then an extended training period apprentice to some master. The Lies of Locke Mora, which we have reviewed. The Way of Shadows, which is by Brent Wicks, etc. I would also add The Fourth Wing by Rebecca, forgetting her name, but I've reviewed that. These books with schools in them and training, I've mentioned before as well, they're so addictive. You love to see an underdog that grows and gets stronger. So that's what happens in Bloodsong. And then he talks about other stuff. This is all set in a skillfully executed flashback, which our protagonist narrates to a historian on his way to a duel. Blah blah blah. Other books with narration are The Emperor of the Vampire. I'm forever mentioning I Swear I Really Enjoy It by Jay Kristoff, where he is narrating what's happened because he's captured and he's telling his jailer basically his life story. The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss does that with flashbacks, amongst other books. I'm just looking at how bright this is. I'm gonna have to edit it. I have like the window and there's still some light coming in and it goes dark and light. Maybe I can edit it in camera. Would it be that one? I never do edit by changing in camera. Anyway, so that's Bloodsong. Anthony Ryan, his first ever book. If you read his other books off my suggestions and really enjoyed them, I would give this a go. His first. I have mentioned before, I think first novels from authors can be exceptional because they're pouring all of their creativity into their first book. So you can have really unique books like that, but then they can go the other way where they're still learning and their character development's not as good. I found Brent Weeks improved with his second series. They can go both ways. I would say with Anthony Ryan that his latter books do probably improve in some areas of character development and world building in a way, but this is exceptional still, so please give it a go. He's got to be one of my favourite authors. I've got another series of his I need to review as well, a duology if I remember correctly. So that's the second book. I'm taking my time today. Why not always do that? Okay, on to the next one. Let's go with the one I flashed earlier, because it is an oldie, but a goodie. This is Trudy Canavan, The Magician's Apprentice. Some of you may know this book. It's quite a known book, quite a known author and series. So, a couple things. This gets 3.98 on Goodreads, just under a 4, but we count that. I would say Yes, the trilogy that this belongs to. There's the Magician's Guild, that's a trilogy. This is a prequel to that trilogy. So if you want to read the Magician's Guild, you can read this first, Magician's Apprentice. It's a prequel, it's set a few hundred years beforehand. So I did that. I googled when I was looking at the series, is it a good read, Magician's Guild, and then thankfully I read a little piece of advice saying read this first. If you want, you don't have to. I remember not much at all about it. Main character is female. Author, also female. We need more, because I have male author. Oh, another female author. Good. 3 out of 3 to 2. That's not too bad for me. I would say, I'm trying to think like how many female authors versus male in fantasy. Maybe a couple more males than I have. Oh, Rebecca Yarros was the one from earlier with the Fourth Wing. But certainly, male characters seem to dominate epic fantasy that I read, and traditional fantasy, so yeah, yay for a female character. In the remote village of Mandarin, Tessia serves as assistant to her father, the village healer. Despite knowing that women aren't readily accepted by the Guild of Healers, Tessia is determined to follow in her father's footsteps, but her life is about to take an unexpected turn. When treating a patient at the residence of the local magician, Lord Dagon, Tessia fights off the advances of a visiting Sachakan mage and instinctively uses magic. There's a dog out there. She now finds herself facing an entirely different future as Lord Dagon's apprentice. Dagon or Dagon, we'll call him Dagon. It is a position of great privilege, but Tessia is about to discover that her magical gifts also bring with them a heavy responsibility. For events are brewing that will lead nations into war and rival magicians into conflict, and spark an act of sorcery so brutal that its effects will be felt for centuries. And it will be felt for centuries, which will then lead into the next book, the trilogy. As I said before, 3.98 on Goodreads. Why does the neighbours dog have to bark when I'm reading? Chapter 1. We'll read just a little excerpt. There was no fast and painless way to perform an amputation, Tessia knew. Not if you did it properly. A neat amputation required a flap of skin to be cut to cover the stump, and that took time. As her father deftly began to slice into the skin around the boy's finger, Tessia noted the expressions of the people in the room. The boy's father stood with his arms crossed and his back straight. His scowl did not quite hide signs of worry, though whether it was sympathy for his son or anxiety about whether he'd get the harvest finished in time without his son's help, she could not tell. Probably a bit of both. The mother held was discovered as a second out, finally. This is the Ember Blade by Chris Wooding, which I don't believe I have mentioned before. It is not very well known compared to other fantasies, but I think you should know it because it's good. So the Ember Blade by Chris Wooding. This gets 4.21 on Goodreads. An absolutely solid score. And it's only reviewed maybe 5,000 times. Now when we look at, say, The Witcher, which I think is reviewed in the 200 plus thousands, this is very unknown. You guys need to familiarize yourself with it. I need to reread it. It came out in 2018. The second book came out last year, so it's a big 5-year hiatus between books. And I honestly was starting to think the second book was not going to come out. It's not taking as long as what Patrick Rothfuss is taking for his third book, the Wheel of Time series. But still with 5 years, and it being a smaller known author, only 5,000 reviews, I was like, oh my goodness, I really hope he just doesn't stop the series, because this is a grower. This is something you're going to read, and it might start pretty well, it might dip, I can't remember, but by the end you're like, I need to know what happens next. It really grows on you. Let's read the back. A land under occupation, a legendary sword, a young man's journey to find his destiny. Aaron has lived by the rules all his life. He's never questioned it. That's just the way things are. But then his father is executed for treason, and he and his best friend Cade are thrown into a prison mine, doomed to work until they drop, unless they can somehow break free. But what lies beyond the prison walls is even worse. Rescued by a man who hates him, yet is oath-bound to protect him, pursued by inhuman forces, Aaron slowly accepts that the rules are not there to protect him or his people, but to enslave them. A revolution is brewing, and Aaron is being drawn into it, whether he likes it or not. The Ember Blade is the key, the Sword of Kings, the Excalibur of his people, but it's locked in an impenetrable vault in the most heavily guarded fortress in the land. All they have to do is steal it. Great fun, a classic epic fantasy, Wordzone reviewed. If you like Brandon Sanderson, you'll love this. K.N. Smith. I would agree. I love Brandon Sanderson, and I love this. It's along the lines of The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson, but in my head I had The Shadow of What Was Lost by James Islington. That sort of big epic adventure. You know, it's a book that is 800 pages, so it's a hefty boy, but I rate it. I'm about to what I was saying was I'm about to sneeze, and I did. Going back to things, it's good. It's a grower. I seem to remember not being obsessed straight away. I needed to get into it a bit. If I remember correctly, maybe I was hooked from the start, but I don't think I was. But give it a go. I really rate it. I'm gonna reread it, and I can always give a review once I reread it. And I've got to try and buy the second one. I only just saw that. I think I knew that it was coming out last year, but I always get the smaller prints if I can, so I have to wait and see if it's out in smaller print yet. I'm intrigued how does it start. Let's have a quick little read. Keep faith and hold fast, and we will free our land. Edric had said that not 3 days past, as he stood on the battlements of the keep at Salt Fork and watched the enemy closing in. Side by side with his brothers and sisters, pride swelling his chest and angry defiance in his eye, it had felt like a truth. He knew better now. The forest whipped and scratched him scanned the forest fearfully while his companion recovered. The trees were loud with birdsong, jewed leaves stirring in the dawn light. There was no sign of their pursuers yet, but he could hear the Emperor's hounds through the trees. "You go on," Dirk said raggedly. He had the flat stare of a dead man. "I'm done." There you go. A little adventurous run there to start that book. Sounds like someone may not make it. Just reading that, the writing, it sounds good. I'm very intrigued, and I do feel like the book slows down and then builds up again. This video is about to run out. I'm gonna hit record. It's back. So that's the Ember Blade by Chris Whitting. Just one more book to talk about today. We've just got the 5. Okay, so the last one. So heavy. Look at this big one. The Need of Paxenarian by Elizabeth Moon. Massive. My goodness, it hurts the back holding it. So, an omnibus edition means it has multiple books in one. Is it a trilogy or more than that? Let's have a look. It's a trilogy. 3 books. So within this is Sheep Farmer's Daughter, Divided Allegiance, and Oath of Gold. Wait. Yes. Maybe. I think. Yes, no, that's it. I did get it right. Looking at this, Elizabeth Moon has written many books. She's been writing for a long time. This was first published in 1997 for Sheep Farmer's Daughter for the first book. And it looks like the omnibus is from 2012. So I got this online for a good price. Maybe just $20 odd. Which, when you think about it, you're getting 3 books for $20. I think omnibuses are great. They're heavy, but they're great value for money. This is 1,200 pages for the price of a normal book. So the main character is Paxenarion, but she goes by Pax. It's medieval times, and she is a fantastic warrior. Her tale will become legend. I really enjoyed this. It gets 4.32 on Goodreads. So that's a really good rating. And I definitely enjoyed it. I do love some medieval fantasy. Driven by her need to find a better life, Paxenarion will take a path that no one could have foreseen. A journey that will lead her to glory or ruin. Paxenarion wasn't planning to submit to an unwelcome marriage and a lifetime of poverty, so she left her village with a plan and her grandfather's sword. And a few weeks later, she was installed as Duke Felon's newest recruit in a company of soldiers for hire, her arms training about to begin. But when Pax sees combat, she's stabbed with an ensorcelled knife and barely survives. Then the near misses mount up, raising questions. Is she attracting evil because she's a danger to them all? Or is there another reason malignant forces seek her life? Pax will face orcs, the spider minions of the web mistress Ashura, and the corrupted men who serve blood magic Liard, master of torments. And through conflict she will learn she has powers of her own and a destiny, to become a god's chosen paladin of good and a target for the ultimate torture. That sounds epic and makes me want to reread it. I really suggest this. Now, when they said she ran away to join the army, I want to say it's this book, I could be wrong. This book I read where a girl wants to join the army and they've already passed through and she's So she runs to the next town, which is days. I don't think she owns a horse. She doesn't really own anything because they talked about her not wanting to be in a lifetime of poverty. So she owns nothing, and she just runs. She runs for days and turns up. And they're like, "Who are you?" I want to join the army. Where'd you come from? I ran 4 days from this village. And they're like, "Well, damn, you must be keen to join. Go. We'll sign you up." I think I want to say that's this book. I really love that. You know, in poverty-stricken times, she wants to join the army, and she just doesn't. The value for money for epic, 90s, early 2000s reading this, I suggest. The Ember Blade, I suggest. I would probably actually put this above the Ember Blade for now because it's fully finished. So I would go this for value for money and excitement. The Ember Blade, there's only 2 books out, there's no rush. For old school fantasy, we have Trudy, Canavan the Magician's Apprentice. For an absolute top tier read, Bloodsoul. Get this. Get these 2. Those are my 2 topics, and then The Witcher, if you want a nice little novel to read on the bus, or the train, or the tram, or whatever, going to work. It fits in the bag and it's going down nicely. 4.32. I, as usual, don't remember too much. That's why none of these books have really spoken about character development and stuff as such, because I don't remember too much. But the suggestion that you can hear me chat and a little bit of book sounds. Why don't I quickly read a paragraph? Page 1. There's a lot of writing per page. Prologue. In his sheep farmer's low stone house, high in the hills above 3 firs, 2 swords hang now above the mantelpiece. One is very old and slightly bent, a sword more iron than steel, dark as a pot, forged so the tale runs by the smith in Rocky Ford. Yet it is a sword for all that, and belonged to Canas once, and tasted orc's blood and robber's blood in its time. The other is a very different matter, long and straight, keen-edged of the finest sword steel, silvery and glinting blue even in yellow firelight. The pommel's knot design is scented with the deeply graven seal of St. Gerd. The cross hilts are gracefully shaped and chased in gold. The children of that place look at both swords with awe, and on some long winter nights old Dorthan, grandfather of fathers and greybeard now, takes from its carved chest the scroll that came with the sword, and reads aloud to his family. But first he reminds them of the day a stranger rode up, robed and mantled in white, an old man with thin silver hair, and handed down the box and the sword naked as it hangs now. "Keep these," the stranger said, "in memory of your daughter, Paxenarion. She wishes you to have them, and has no need of them." And though he accepted water from the well, he would say no more of Paxenarion, whether she lived or lay buried far away, whether she would return or no. Get it, buy it, read it, enjoy it. That is everything for today, guys. Thank you so much. I hope you got something from this video. I just want to sell the excitement of books, give you some names, and get you reading fantasy if you've never read fantasy before. Let me know if you've read any of these. I'd love to hear what you think of them. As I always say for these videos, give me your suggestions. I'm always looking for suggestions. My mate suggested me recently that I need to read. Oh, I can picture the cover now. The God Killer, I think it's called. So that's on my list. But yeah, have an amazing